And we are live. Look at that. We are live. Happy Wednesday, everyone. It's April, what April?
19th.
19th already. April 19th, 2023. And we are still here. How exciting to be alive. In this amazing world of illusions and delusions and fraud and deceit and games being played on the people, turning us into all kinds of other things that we are definitely not. Welcoming you all to our part 5 on mortgage fraud. We did it a few days ago, and the dark forces didn't want us to share what we got to share with you. So here we are again, and we will continue until everyone knows, and until everyone can unslave if they decide so. Some people actually like to kind of maybe be part of that system of constructive fraud, but eventually truth and light will prevail. So anyway, welcoming you all. It's a little chit chat before we get started on our part 5. This is Doug. This is Lenka, but we just been called that, you know. He's actually a living man and I'm a living woman on California, one of the people, right? Are you one of the people?
I don't know. I might
You don't
be
know?
a person.
Oh no, you don't want to be a person. Anyway, today we will be talking about the interrupted notice of adequate assurance of due performance. That's a following up on exposing the mortgage fraud and asking question, because we are asking, right? We are asking all these questions, and we are entitled to have the answers to ensure that we haven't been defrauded. So before we get into that document, that is actually a very important part on the discovery and ensuring that we have all the documentation and all the important information on our hands to ensure that, hey, we were loaned something of substance of somebody else's for there to be a loan by definition. So we will just do a little chit chat before we can see people actually tuning in. So if you are watching this on a replay, you know what to do. You can skip straight through or just sit here with us for a moment until we see some activity, and then we will dive right into it. So maybe we get started. There was this great video, Doug, you know, I shared it with you. Do you remember the video where, I forget the attorney's name, but pretty smart guy was exposing the fact that the public pretenders that pretend to be your government do not actually have oath of office, and it was all based on their fraudulent affidavits. Do you remember, Doug? I think it didn't have a date. It didn't have the proper notary seal, and it didn't also have the statement of that the affidavit is being made under pains and penalties of perjury. So Doug, can you maybe start a little bit about talking about the power of affidavits? And maybe what we can do before we get into that discussion, let's read up what the Black's Law Dictionary is saying. What edition is this?
I used to 11th.
The 11th? Okay. So Black's Law Dictionary. All right. Let's look this up. What does it say about affidavit? All right. Affidavit is a written or printed declaration or statement of facts made voluntarily and confirmed by the oath or affirmation of the party making it, taken before a person having authority to administer such oath or affirmation. So, Doc, can you maybe talk a little bit about it?
The affidavit?
Yep.
Well, the affidavit comes from the fact that in the old days, your word's your bond. Mm-hmm. The only thing that you have as a man or a woman is your word and your knowledge. And it's how you keep your word and you use your knowledge as to whether you're a decent person or a piece of shit.
Decent man or woman. Let's
Okay,
be correct.
decent man or woman.
We don't want to be persons.
Or a piece of shit. But the bottom line is, when you have a dispute or something that needs to be addressed, you do it as a man or a woman, and you swear under the pains and penalties of perjury, and you do it before somebody that you can swear an oath before. And what that does is it places you in jeopardy and in liability if you're lying. Okay? So, back in the old days, all you had is your word. I mean, that's really all you got today. And it was how you kept your word as to what your stature was in society. Today, people don't care about their word. They just, anything comes out their mouth and, they do whatever they want. But, in a real society where a man or a woman walks in honor, they keep their word. Their word is their bond. There's been many of, multi-million-dollar deals that were done on a word and a handshake. Before people got scandalous.
And that's how it really should be. In order to stay in honor and conduct yourself in honor, do honorable business, right? It's my word and your word, and we shake on it, right? And the deal is done. And now, it's to uphold to that promise.
Well, you uphold to the contract.
Which is the contract.
The contract makes the law. The contract is the law in dealing with whatever issue it is under the contract. And the contract, unless it violates the law, it trumps any other law because it's between two men or two women or two men, a man and a woman, that's alive with wet ink signatures that have met all of the 8 conditions necessary to be a lawful contract. And so once you do that, that's binding on you. And there's liabilities and there's fines and fees and all kinds of stuff if you fail to abide by that or live up to that.
So this is why we are making an affidavit, a statement of facts, where we are stating the facts and the truth, which then serves as evidence, and the law attaches to it. And we are doing it under pains and penalties of perjury because that's the truth. That's the truth and facts that we have a first-hand knowledge, right? This is why we are confident. This is why we can do it under pains and penalties of perjury, because we don't lie, right? This is just these facts. This is what happened. This is what has been done, and I can attest to it.
It's real simple. It's if you have an actual claim, it means that a situation has occurred where facts have come about through actions or whatever, and through these facts you can show that you've been injured and that there's been a trespass. So if that's the case, then all you have to do is put the truth on paper. Okay, statement of facts. These facts right here, I'll swear to you under the pains and penalties of perjury. Okay, before anybody that can swear me in affidavit form, this is my testimony. And so you're giving them your testimony is the same as it would be if they pulled you into a court. All that's doing is really abbreviating the court appearance. Because if you'll swear to something and they won't, guess who wins? If you swear to something and they go silent, guess who just agreed to what you swore to? Okay? The power of the affidavit is, it's the truth. And you're swearing to it as the truth. But you're putting your liability up that what you swore to was the truth. If it wasn't the truth, then you're guilty of perjury, and they can hold you liable and actually place you in prison for that.
Right. So this is the power of affidavit that we will be using in this notice of adequate assurance of due performance, because we want to make sure that we were not defrauded. And this is why we are asking the so-called alleged lender that they actually loaned us something of substance that we took full custody, care, and control of, for that to be a loan by definition. So this is a follow-up to the previous videos we put out. This is part 5, and I will be referencing to the affidavit of Volker F. Todd.
Let me say something real quick.
Please.
Okay. And the first thing that we did, we served them with the writ of discovery, or writ in the nature of discovery, okay? And we're asking them to produce something. We know they're not going to produce it because they can't, okay? Bottom line, we know this, okay? So the time's gone by for them to produce it. Well, they don't want to produce it. Well, then we're asking them to sign something under the penalty of perjury that there's actually been a loan and they've actually lived up to the loan agreement, okay? And so we're asking them to sign this under the pains and penalties of perjury, because that would say, okay, well, then there was a loan, okay? But it would also allow us to say, okay, well, prove it, okay? So what this is doing is you've asked them to produce the documentation. They refused to do that, so now you're asking them to sign something that they swear under the penalty of perjury that they actually loaned you something, okay?
And you are actually producing your own affidavit as well, because we are very well aware that there is really no money of exchange, that we only think we have is money of account, right? So we know how the so-called money is being created, which is through your autograph. And so we are putting it out there. So let's read through. So notice of adequate assurance of due performance. Of course, we are making it notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. And this is regarding the alleged debt attached to aforementioned account number, your account number of the alleged loan, which is being disputed now. I demand to know the details of what the entire agreement is and if you performed in accordance to the agreement. So we are challenging the agreement, right? That there was actually adequate assurance of due performance on the agreement. So dear Mr. Mortgage ABC CEO, it has come to attention of the alleged borrower, after consulting with borrower CPA, legal counselors, and researching the United States Code, the corresponding Code of Federal Regulations, the Uniform Commercial Code (UCC), certain Federal Reserve Bank regulations and publications, and the affidavit of Volker F. Todd, an expert witness in monetary and banking instruments with over 20-year experience as an attorney and legal officer for the legal department of the Federal Reserve Banks of New York and Cleveland, herein annexed via Exhibit A, and made part of this notice. Now, I read the complete affidavit in one of the previous videos. I believe it's video number 3. Okay. The aforementioned demonstrates there is valid reason to believe that the alleged lender is not the holder in due course of the borrower's promissory note, and or may have breached the agreement concerning the above referenced alleged loan or loan of credit. Since the borrower paid money in the form of promissory note to the lender to perform according to a loan agreement, the borrower is now hereby requesting adequate assurance of due performance pursuant to UCC 2609, and the lender has performed according to the loan agreement, and that the original lender used their own money to purchase the borrower's promissory note and did not accept the borrower's promissory note as money or like money to fund the check or similar instrument that the lender then lent to the borrower, which would have an economic effect similar to stealing, counterfeiting, and swindling, and that the lender has followed the federal laws 12 U.S.C. Section 1831 NA, Section 2A, and 12 CFR 741.6B, regarding generally accepted accounting principles GAAP and generally accepted auditing standards, GAAP, concerning this loan. On November 16, 2022, you were served with writ of nature of discovery and disclosure and memorandum of law. We did a video on that. I believe it was video number 1 or 2. So check. Yeah, probably number 2. And which was received and signed on November 23rd to provide specific documentation related to this alleged loan for which you are now in default. Please reference includes affidavit of default. I'm also in receipt of a package, and then it just goes into some of my correspondence with the mortgage company. The borrower is hereby requesting that you or any authorized officer, agent assigned of the lender sign and return the attached affidavit within 72 hours of the receipt of this notice. Also, attached is an affidavit signed by the borrower stating the borrower's first-hand knowledge of the terms of the agreement. This is the borrower's good faith attempt to settle this matter and clear up any confusion about the terms of the loan agreement prior to resorting to exclusive remedy of criminal complaint and tort. Failure to respond will be deemed a dishonor of this notice. The affidavits are evidence that may be used according to the federal rules of evidence to prosecute or enforce any default by you in this matter. My CPA and my counselors are prepared to offer expert witness testimony should court proceeding be necessary. And now we go into our own affidavit. So this will be your affidavit, right? So affidavit of Lenka Coloma, affidavit of Joe Schmo. I, Joe Schmo, honorable man, Californian, one of the people, the undersigned affiant, being duly sworn on oath, dispose and declare that an exchange is not a loan. Mortgage company ABC, hereinafter called alleged lender, claims that they lend their money to me. Alleged lender claimed to me that the alleged lender would charge interest as compensation for lending me the alleged lender's money. Financial institution CPA audit opinions claim that financial institutions involved in issuing alleged loans or loans follow generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP. There is a dispute regarding who loaned what to whom regarding the alleged loan. The alleged lender claims that they lent me their money. The alleged lender claims that the lender has loan papers with the affiant's name on it as evidence of a debt. The bookkeeping entries show the opposite, and that the affiant was the lender and that the alleged lender was the borrower. So there is the switch. According to GAAP, this is what happened. The alleged lender and financial institution involved in the alleged loan never lent 1 cent to the affiant as adequate consideration to purchase the affiant's promissory note. The affiant first became the lender to the alleged lender, and the alleged lender was the borrower. According to GAAP, the bank recorded the promissory note as a bank asset offset by a bank liability. The promissory note was recorded as a bank asset in exchange for credits in the affiant's transaction account or to give value to a check or similar instrument. The matching principle in GAAP requires that there be a matching liability offsetting the promissory note recorded as an asset, and that the liability shows that the bank alleged lender owes the alleged borrower money for the promissory note that was lent to the bank or alleged lender. The promissory note was deposited in a similar to loaning the alleged lender the cash or promissory note. According to GAAP, the promissory note was deposited as bank asset offset by a bank liability, with the bank liability showing that the alleged lender owed the affiant money for the promissory note that was received from the affiant and deposited. When the bank deposited the promissory note and created the affiant transaction account, the alleged lender, the one who claims they own the promissory note, recorded a loan from the affiant to the alleged lender, making the affiant the lender and the alleged lender the borrower. The alleged lender returned the equivalent in equal value of the loan to Joe Schmo, the lender, per GAAP. When the money was paid to Joe Schmo, the true lender, per GAAP, the alleged lender claimed that the repaid money was a loan to a borrower named Joe Schmo and ignored the bookkeeping entries which proved the money trail of who lent what to whom. The alleged lender claims to be the lender using the promissory note to claim they lent money to the affiant, but GAAP shows that the opposite happened. The alleged lender did the opposite of what the affiant, Joe Schmo, understood and believed was to happen, creating an economic effect similar to stealing, counterfeiting, and swindling against the affiant, Joe Schmo. The cost and risk of the agreement changed. If the true lender lent $100 to a borrower and the borrower repays the loan, there is equal protection under the law and agreement. There is no economic effect similar to stealing, counterfeiting, and swindling. If the alleged lender steals $100, the borrower and returns the $100 to the borrower as a loan, the cost and risk changes, and the economics of the alleged loan is similar to stealing, counterfeiting, and swindling. Signed under penalty of perjury, dated this day of that month, 2023. All rights reserved without prejudice. Okay? So that's the affidavit of the living man or woman who was allegedly loaned something of substance from the alleged lender, right? So we are issuing this affidavit, which we know that we autographed the promissory note or the loan agreement, right? Which actually, that autograph was the creation of the money, so-called money that we have today. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, it's simple. Your autograph had the ability to turn that into the cash value listed on the promissory note.
The promissory application
on whatever the application
whatever is being used as the commercial instrument. All right.
Well, now look. First, it was a promissory note, but when that got found out, they decided to change a few things, and now they use the application. So the application's actually the commercial instrument that they're using to go and get the Federal Reserve notes, which have no value. There is no substance.
And so now the second part of it is now we are asking our mortgage company to sign the same affidavit, that under pains and penalties of perjury, they confirmed that they did actually, paid something of substance of theirs for the credit that we gave to them, right? So this is affidavit of mortgage company ABC. The undersigned affiant, being duly sworn on oath, disposes and says that he or she is an officer of mortgage company ABC that claims to hold the promissory note of Joe Schmo in the original principal amount of $500,000 or whatever the loan was supposed to be for. That he, she, and as an officer of mortgage ABC company holding said note has the authority to execute this affidavit on behalf of the company and to bind the same to its provisions. The loan agreement has the following terms. Mortgage company ABC follows GAAP, generally accepted account principles. The intent of the loan agreement is that the party who funded the loan per bookkeeping entries is to be repaid the money loaned. According to the bookkeeping entries, mortgage company ABC used their money as adequate consideration to purchase the promissory note of Joe Schmo. The promissory note was not used as value to give to a check or similar instrument or a checking account. I affirm that I understand the terms and conditions of the loan agreement signed under penalty of perjury. And now there's a line for the signature of the officer of the mortgage company ABC and to be dated. So now, if they are conducting themselves in honor, right? If this is honorable, a business deal, right? Honorable men and women behind this, right? They will have no problem issuing an affidavit, a declaration under pains and penalties of perjury. Yes, I gave something of substance to this woman for exchange for her promissory note, right? And I'm going to autograph it. I'm going to have it notarized because I'm willing to go to prison for it if this shall not be truth, right? That's what honorable men and women would do. Is that true, Doug?
Well, yeah. I mean, what you're doing is you're putting them in a corner. You're putting an affidavit out there, and then you're asking them to sign an affidavit that
in return.
And when they don't do that, see, the whole idea is they like to go silent and they don't like to give you any of the evidence that you need to be able to expose the fraud. And the fraud is that there is no money. So as you read, it cracks me up because as you hear her read this, and it talks about money in that affidavit, well, there is no money. So, since they took the money of exchange, and that means that they took your ability to make a real contract, because it takes something of substance to make something of substance for there to be a contract. So when they took the money or the actual money of exchange, the gold and the silver, they basically hampered all of the contracts from that time forward, anything done behind a Federal Reserve note. Okay, because there is no substance behind it. So when these people are talking about, they made you a loan of some money, or they paid for your promissory note. Well, okay, show me where you paid for it, because there's nothing to pay for it with, so I know that's bullshit. Okay, you didn't give me any money because there is no money. And so you don't have any credit to extend me that's yours, all right? So there's nothing of substance that you have that you can give me for there to be a loan by definition. And what I mean by be a loan by definition is a loan is defined as somebody has something of substance something of exchange is what they say. And that means something of substance because you can exchange it, okay? It's not fiction. It's not made up in your mind where you can exchange thoughts but can't see them, you know what I mean? So you've got something of exchange that they gave to you, and you took full care, custody, and control over it. And then did what
in your hands, in your
it
possession.
was in your possession, and your full custody and control, and you did whatever you did with it. Okay, now there's a loan. Okay, so now you owe for what you borrowed,
received,
and they can charge you
the interest, agreed interest,
an agreed interest. Okay, but if they have you fill something out, if they tell you, "Hey, homie, look, I'm gonna loan you some money, and I'll give you a real good deal. So come on in here." Mm-hmm. But first, I got to find out if I really want to loan you some money, if you qualify. Mm-hmm. So they stick these papers down in front of you, and you write all this crap in there, right? Well, what'd you just write in there? Everything that needed to be on a commercial instrument, okay? On a promissory note, okay? So the minute that you sign it, all right, you just autographed it. Well, you're the creditor. You're where the source of all of the substance that comes out of here. Okay? It's your sweat equity. It's your time, which is the only thing that you have, the only currency that you really have is your time and your labor. Because you're never going to get that back. See? So that's your value right there. All these other people sit on their ass and they parasite off of you and your time and your labor. They steal your sweat equity, and they figure out ways to do it. It can be you trade your sweat equity for gold and silver coins that keep their value, or you can trade your sweat equity for a promise to pay on a piece of paper. Okay? Sometime in the future. All right? It's your sweat equity. You can trade it for whatever the hell you want. All right, that's where barter came from. All
And
right.
it would be honorable deal if these mortgage companies, would come in and say, hey, listen, we are the only ones, we are the extension of these banks that are licensed to access the accounts, right? These minor estates that were established on our behalf as the creditors for the bankruptcy that basically is backing everything up. And they said, hey, listen, I'm going to charge you 10% for it. Right? So you would basically get access to the credit that whatever the loan you are signing up for. Let's say $500,000. Yeah, I see this house, and I need $500,000 to buy it for. And this mortgage company would say, okay, I give you the $500,000 and I charge you 10%, right? So it would be $50,000. So you would say, sure, yeah, I'm going to give you $50,000 if you can give me the access to my $500,000, which is the credit, right? So you take the $500,000, you pay off the house is paid off, they got $50,000. Well, now we have honorable business. We have meeting of the minds, right? We have full disclosure. We have everyone signs on it, right? This would be honorable contract, but not what they are doing.
Look, people. Some people sat around. I don't know what they were smoking, but they sat around and they put this system together.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this has been done over generations. When the bankers first fleeced us, and they took all the money because they were allowed in 1913 to start printing their Federal Reserve bullshit. And at that time, you could take their Federal Reserve note, and it was as good as a silver dollar, one of those silver certificates or gold certificate dollars where you could take it in and trade it in for gold. And so all these pieces of shit came over here and started trading all their Federal Reserve notes in for our gold. And then when it depleted our inventory and depositories, they came out and said, "Oh, the people were holding gold," and they went into a voluntary bankruptcy. Okay, they voluntarily went into bankruptcy, but they convinced the people this way. Okay, hey guys, look, we really love you. We're the government, and we're here to help you. We don't need any of this heavy gold because it weighs on in your pockets and
it's heavy to
it's
carry
heavy
around,
to carry around, and
it's
all them
to
pockets
around.
rubbing up against you. You got big old calluses on your thighs from them gold coins.
Yeah.
And you don't really need all that, So look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take all the gold and we'll hold it for you, and he who has the gold pays, right? So we'll take care of all your bills for you, okay? And we're going to set up these accounts for you in this new deal, okay?
That was the new deal. That's
So,
right.
Here's what we're going to do, and you're going to pay into these accounts a little bit, and it's going to call Social Security, so it's going to secure you socially as you get older, all right? And so what happens is, when you are born, we're gonna deposit your weight in gold, all right, into an account, and that account we're going to invest for you, okay, and we're going to take care of you all your life, and then when you become of age, and you're mature enough up here and comprehend, you're gonna come and you're gonna claim your account, okay, and they set it all up in their codes that until you claim that account, you're considered a juvenile. Okay, you have no rights. You've got a guardian ad litem, all right, which was appointed to you at birth, which is a state. Okay, and you're a vessel for the United States and in the state that you're born in and the county, because you're docked at the county when you came down the birth canal into the dock. Yeah, that's why the dock caught you. All right. So, I mean, when you really get to looking at the way that they set this up, they set it up to burn us, but they set it up to trick our people, to make it sound good. So they set these accounts, they set these heritage and these minor accounts up for us. They're what they call the Siesta KV Trust now, okay? That were set up through law, okay? They weren't an express trust that was set up. It was set up through the law at your birth, okay? and they took your heritage from you because it changed you into a vessel, all capital letter name, okay? A citizen, person, and resident, you need CPR, you're a dead entity, your name's all capital letters because it's the same as spelled on a tombstone or on a boat, okay? So they've got you in admiralty law, you're in the water, all right? They don't tell you none of this shit, okay? They don't teach you anything about law, they don't teach you anything about medicine, and they don't teach you anything about money. So that you have to fucking rely on one of their doctors for your health, one of their fucking lawyers for any legal advice, okay? And then, one of these financial bankers to deal with your finances in life, okay? Because you don't have the expertise. So you go to these idiots, all right? And they just screw you all up. Oh, yeah. Hey, buddy, I got a deal for you here. Sign on the dotted line, homie. And they hand you a big old stack of funny money. But they
That
took...
notes. So
debt
more
notes.
of them you have, the more in debt you actually are.
Yeah. The bigger a pile of money you got, what they call for money is the bigger debt you're in. Those are promises that you're going to promise to pay somebody at some other time.
And the way how they secure it, because you think now that, with all this funny money, you bought these boats and sports cars and these amazing houses. But when you start really looking, you didn't buy anything and you don't own any of it, because anything that has a certificate of title or has APN number, you don't owe it. You don't own it.
Well, not only that, right? Here's the deal. Okay, all of these corporations are for profit, all right? They're also able to take tax-deductible donations, all right? Mm-hmm. So let's think about this for a minute, all right? You got a corporation like McDonald's, okay? This is what the Clearfield Doctrine says. When they got rid of our money, they got rid of our sovereignty, okay? And what I mean by that is, in order to be sovereign, you have to have sovereign money, so that you can have sovereign law, and you have to have a sovereign military, okay? We don't have any of those. Those were taken from us, and it inverted everything through a voluntary bankruptcy. Because in a bankruptcy, you have creditors and debtors. That's all you have. We're the creditors. We're the underwriters of all government. It's our labor and our sweat equity.
That's what's backing this country.
It backs this whole country. It's the only thing that has value. The intelligence of the people in the United States for America, okay, that are working and putting their intellectual property along with their sweat and labor, okay, to back it up, to dig the stuff, to be able to manufacture all of the ideas that these geniuses come up with, is what makes America great, okay? We're the melting pot. We've got the best of all that congregate here in America. And we've got the biggest pieces of shit in the world that congregate here in America. Unfortunately, somebody selected them as our government because they sure as fuck wasn't elected, okay?
And that's also another subject for discussion. That we have not had elections since 1861 when the English took back over the power over America, and most people don't realize it.
Well, what's happened is through these selections, these families that want to call themselves elite, right, have basically controlled everything that's gone on in our country, okay? And they've done it through all kinds of trickery, fraud, deceit, okay? And they've pretty much conquered us from within.
From the within.
Okay? But here's the deal.
Through the legal system. You think that this is actually, the law, the legal system, which actually is what infiltrated back, into America.
Let me give you an example, okay? Let's take California, for example. All right? They came in after 1871, okay? Now, the United States has been dissolved. So, state of California and county ofs, which are franchisees of the District of Columbia, which are designated through the zoning improvement plan as District of Columbia, just look under the tax laws, Okay, so this overlay that's overlaid over the land, they just spread it over the land and drug us. They revenued us by taking our money. They re-allegianed or revenued us, revenue, right, into a territorial jurisdiction without our knowledge and consent. The further they changed our status and standing in the state constitutions from free electors into registered voters and 14th Amendment citizens. So we go into a bankrupt society, right? And they change us from the creditors into debtors and place the debt upon us, no matter how much they borrow, and we can't question it. And who the fuck they think they are? Okay? And so then they come up with this new deal, and they take all of our money, which impairs all of the contracts from that point on, okay? Placed us into a new jurisdiction without telling us, changed our status and standing without our knowledge and consent. All of that stuff ain't allowed. They were never given the authority, the power. They were never delegated that power to do any of that stuff. So it's called an ultra vires act. It means that they acted in exceeding the authority that they were delegated by us, we the people. And authority means the power to act in my name. And by delegating that authority, it didn't take any of that authority from us. We just delegated a little bit to them, okay, so that they could represent us.
So our God-given unalienable rights would not be violated. That was the whole purpose of putting these people in these seats and in these positions, nothing more and nothing less, to ensure that our rights stay right with us.
And furthermore, what they've done is they've classified themselves as corporations, okay? So we send them things called no-till corporation because we don't believe they exist. And we ask them for the documentation that would show us that they lawfully and legally exist as a corporation in commerce, okay? They can't produce those documents. I've got letters from County of San Luis Obispo County, right, that they have no documents that have anything to do with anything that I requested, that they don't exist because they're not a corporation, they're a legal subdivision of the state.
And that has been dissolved. So it's all actually PSYOP.
Well, but if you go look up on Duns and Bradstreet or you go and get their actual credit report, it says Corporation U.S. and Duns and Bradstreet gives them a number as a corporation. That's RICO. That's fraud right there in black and white. Not only fraud, but it's fraud for unjust enrichment because they've taken what we believe to be a government, right, a Republican form. They call it a democracy when in fact it's fascism at its best.
It's corporate fascism.
It's corporate
That's what
fascism.
we are experiencing right now.
Okay, and so in their little world, we have no rights. We have privileges and immunities that they gave us, and they can take at their pleasure. All right, we don't exist as men and women. We exist as chattel. Okay, just like the farmer has his cows out there in the field. Hey, we're free-range humans on a tax farm. Okay, and instead of branding us with the hot iron, they brand us with Social Security cards, driver's licenses, and everything else. These are our chattel identification.
Numbers. Yeah.
Okay? That is how they identify us as their chattel. Resident. Res. The thing. The property. Ident. Identified. The property is identified as a resident. You see? I'm not that. I'm not your property. I'm a man. Okay? She's a woman. We don't serve any masters. I serve my Creator because my Creator created me and He can destroy me very easily.
And you can only control what you created.
Right.
And you can only control what you created. That's the maximum law. Very simple.
We created these governments. We created, our forefathers created the constitutions, which were the contracts and the resulting trusts that created these governments. These governments are here to serve us, not the other way around. We don't
have public rulers.
Right.
We have public servants.
But I'm just saying they're here to serve us. We're the beneficiaries. In other words, everything that they do has to benefit us or they're trespassing. They're
And they are
breaching their
violating their
fiduciary
oath of
duty.
office, which is
Yes.
which is their fidelity bond.
Yes. So what's happening is we've forgotten who we are, and we've forgotten how to deal with these public servants, and we've allowed the patients to take over the mental facility. You know what I'm saying? These people are out there. I don't even know. Look, I don't even think I could relate to the way these people think. Okay, I mean, look at what they're doing. They've burned down all the food processing plants. Okay, they've diverted the water and denied the farmers the ability to grow crops. All right, because they think that they're above it all and they've got all of the food stashed. You know what I mean, for them.
But you know, we have to also take responsibility, because it's not them doing it. It's actually our people, our brothers and sisters that are actually participating in this system of constructive fraud, in the system that's destroying our life. You know, it's not these politicians that are actually carrying out these orders. This is nothing different from Nazi Germany, right? Hitler couldn't have done it, couldn't have killed the millions of people. You know, Stalin couldn't kill millions of people. It was all the regular men and women that were just doing their job.
But not just, boy.
But anyway, we are getting really off the subject. Let's keep it on the mortgage fraud. As you can see, our beautiful friends,
the mortgage fraud is part
all
of it.
connected.
It's all connected. What do you think they're going to do next? What do they think they're going to do? They're going to come in. All these banks are failing. Okay, what do you think they're going to do with all this mortgage crap? If you don't know what you're doing, and you've got an APN number, and you haven't corrected your status or unslaved as far as, you know,
your property, yourself, your offsprings, your automobiles, your everything.
Everything. You want to bring that into the private. Because if it's in the public, the way that it stands now, it's their property.
It's their property. Yeah.
Your car belongs to them. Okay, you pledged it to them when you went to McDonald's
Your
and said,
house,
"Here."
Too. Same thing with your house. Just read up your deed. You know,
you're a tenant.
You are a tenant. How can you be tenant if you purchase that property? How can you be a tenant? I have tenants. You know.
I'll tell you how.
So how can a tenant have a tenant?
Well, there's two things with property. Okay, it's called the droit, and that's French for right. So it's called the double right. So when you have property, when it's properly purchased, okay, what happens is you get the double right by paying for it with gold or silver, which is the coin of the United States of America. It passes the double right, which is the right to ownership and the right of possession. Both of those in one instrument, in one man or woman, is the righteous title. Okay? What they do is these title companies and these escrow companies and these real estate agents are all licensed by the state. So they've got a compartmental process that goes into escrow. And while it's in escrow, they clean up the title, and they pass the title to you with a warranty deed. They warrant that nobody else has the title to it. And then they turn around and put it in a trust where you're not even involved in the trust. Okay? And so you don't own anything. And when they record it back with them, once again, you pledged it to the corporation. It's their property. They have the right of ownership, so they can require that you get permits from them before you do anything and make sure it's up to some kind of code because it's their property, right? And you got to pay the use fee every year, which is they call property taxes. And I mean, I can go on and on and on.
Well, yeah, we've covered that in other videos. So check out all the other videos we did on the mortgage fraud and start asking. Start asking all these questions. Was there anything of substance of someone else's given to you for there to be a loan by definition? So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for everyone for asking, and we will see you in the next video.